Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Fake Philosophers. I am Mike, your host, and your other host, Mitch, over there.
Hi guys, we're back. Took last week off. Why did I have to cancel?
I think it was just a schedule conflict. I think you guys couldn't do it one day, but then the only day you could do it, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I remember.
So we just took it.
I was available Friday, but you were not. And Thursday night, my wife drove out of town Friday, so Thursday was like our last, like not last, but like for the weekend we were gonna have like dinner together and all that kind of stuff. So it was like, I can't really do it tonight, sorry. And then you were like, well, it's tonight or nothing. And then
but I had something planned Saturday night. I forgot what it was. What the fuck did I do Saturday? Either way, I remember you were like, Saturday's the day, and I was like, oh, the one day I can't do it.
Yeah.
But
anyway.
Yeah. So let's just get right into it.
What's going on, Mike? How you doing? What's going on?
Nothing. I kind of had a funny story. I thought I wrote it down, but I guess I didn't. I was at home, kind of a grocery gripe, not really a grocery gripe, but just kind of in that vein.
Yeah.
I was at Home Depot loading up my my stuff in my trunk.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear this guy, I had to know I hear this guy going, fucking lazy motherfuckers. And I glanced to my right, maybe 2 spots over. Might have been the spot next to me. A guy in his pickup was pulling in, and the cart, there was a grocery cart blocking it, so he couldn't pull all the way up. Mm-hmm. So he got out of his car. That's when he said, fucking lazy motherfuckers. And he so I'm right next to the cart corral, so he has to kind of go around me to move the cart. And he's like, lazy pieces of shit, can't even put the fucking cart. It's 2 fucking spots away. And he's just going. And he like violently pushes it in. And he's looking at me. He's like, you know what I'm fucking talking about? This is bullshit. And I was like, I'm right with you, bro. Right with you. And he's like, fucking asshole. And he's just going off.
Yeah. And
I wanted to hand him a business card with our podcast. I was like, dude, I rant about this at least twice a month.
This is, it's pretty, it's one of our
It just made me laugh. I was like, this guy was not holding back.
Yeah, I love it.
And it made me laugh. It was a smile. Gave me a little smile. Also, I didn't want him to beat me up.
He chose violence that day.
No, yeah. So that's a funny little story that happened.
Nice. I'm trying to find this poll that I heard about today. But I'm still looking it up. It would have been a good Mitch's list is if I can find it. So
here's something topical because I'm actually curious about. I'd like Danny's and Eddie's thoughts too, but curious about your thoughts.
Oh yeah.
So Super Bowl.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with Rihanna's performance. I thought she did fine. I don't care that she was pregnant. Whatever. That being said, I'm kind of just fucking tired of the whole Super Bowl halftime show gimmick.
Oh, yeah, okay.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I never watched it. I mean, I watched one Super Bowl show. Really, like, there was one Super Bowl show I really looked forward to, and that was last year's with Dre and Eminem and Snoop Dogg and all that. And they delivered, and it was just a great show. So that was like the only one I've ever really cared about and was happy that I saw.
And so I was going to agree with, because I was going to bring that up too, like, because that one, it was almost like an event. That was like an all-star lineup of hip-hop in the 90s and the early 2000s. Like, so it was an event.
Yeah. Last year's Super Bowl was just kind of a perfect, like, it piled on as far as all the great things. It was, for me anyway, is, my second favorite team is the Rams. And so for the Rams to go and for it to be played in the new stadium and for it to be just like a great, like, team matchup, and then come to find out that, oh my God, it's Dre and Snoop Dogg and all that. And it just like kept piling on how great that whole just Super Bowl was. And I wish I didn't drink as much because,
Fair. But yeah, I was, so my lady had to work the day of the Super Bowl. And Danny invited me to go somewhere with him. At first I was going to invite people over here, but literally everyone I knew was like, sorry, we have plans. Turns out I was still sick. From if the last episode I was very sick. I was still sick, so I literally just stayed home by myself, and I cooked myself some food, and I kind of watched the game as I was just doing other shit. And so I watched the halftime show just, because it was on.
Uh-huh.
And like I said, I don't think it was a bad show. I feel like now, and I feel like I felt this way for years now, but I just never put words to it.
Sure.
Like you said, last year's show with Dre, Snoop, Eminem, like all these guys, legends, it was like an event. But with Rihanna, it was just like, that's just Rihanna. I forgot who was the year before, but like Lady Gaga did it one year, and I was like, all right, it's Gaga.
Gaga
like Beyonce did it one year.
I remember not hating Gaga's too, because she like started high up and like free jumped or something like that, base jumped. Mm-hmm. I almost said free based. She might have but she base jumped like in the middle. That was like her opening or whatever. Yeah. I was too young to really appreciate it, but looking back on the video, it was pretty cool when Prince played the Super Bowl and he was doing Purple Rain and it started to rain, and that was pretty cool. So there's some good ones, but truly it's normal for me. And growing up, it was always this way, mostly because I had really cynical parents that just like would scoff and at every Super Bowl show, because they're usually a little risque. They're usually pop, music, which my parents just hated, and by effect they it bred me to hate it too. So it was always like, there's going to be some shitty show and it's going to be dumb and whatever. And yeah, this year, unfortunately, it was just kind of back to that. It was, a pop singer with,
and that's what I mean. Like, go on. Sorry.
No, I was still pontificating. Go ahead.
No, I just like I don't think Rihanna, it was a bad performance. It was a fine performance. It was whatever. And all the ones in the past too. But like, I'm just kind of like, I'm trying to put the right words because I don't even know if my thoughts make sense.
It was cool because you touched on it, the pregnancy thing. It was brilliant that the way the Super Bowl and Rihanna and they all kind of like set it up, because they were like, okay, we're not going to say it, because if we say she's pregnant before the show, everyone's going to be like, uh-oh, whatever. So this way she can go up. She can go up and do her show, and it can be total shit, and then we can follow up with, she's pregnant, by the way. So, well, I guess it wasn't that bad.
Well, yeah, my point though was like I didn't really care. Like it was a fine performance. It was just kind of like underwhelming.
Yeah,
like to where
that's good,
last year, like there was hype around it, and it was dope.
And that's really kind of the unfortunate thing about it, is like, how are you going to follow that,
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's hard to find like the words of how I feel about it. But like all these shows, it's always hyped up. Rihanna's coming out. It's going to be crazy. And then she performed, and it was like, that's just a performance. And I felt like that for a long time. I remember when we were younger, there was a performance where it was like a combination. It was like NSYNC, Britney Spears, Nelly, Aerosmith, and it was like this big collaboration performance. Mm-hmm. And I remember going, this is really cool. Mm-hmm. But every other performance where it's just like one person, like I remember Lady Gaga performing, and it wasn't bad, but I kind of rolled my eyes. Katy Perry performed one year. That's when she came out, like all the sharks were dancing. It was just fucking weird.
Yeah, and that birthed one of the greatest meme trends was the shark, and that was so good. Anyway,
but even that one, it was just like really it was just a huge spectacle. But like I remember going like, all right.
Well, I remember actually, because it was so quickly shadowed by the next year, but the Weeknd's performance at the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
I don't even remember.
You remember that? You don't remember okay, yeah, that was the one where he's like in the mirrors and he's all like shaking and running around and all that. But
okay.
Okay. And really, it was okay. It was kind of just they're always just kind of mashups of their greatest hits, and
And that's what I mean. It just feels like. That's what was kind of cool about last year's. It actually felt like an event. Like this is a big deal. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Whereas every other year, it's just like, okay, it's a performer putting on a big spectacle, and whatever.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, and even if and Rihanna's not bad. It's just I don't like that whole genre, I guess you could say.
Well, that's different then. That's different, yeah.
It's just the pulp. It's just the pop, and her whole style. She has her 4 notes that she hits in every song, and then she lays it over some electric dance music, and it trends, and then she makes millions, and then that's it.
Sure.
Which in the club, I'm sure it's just great, but it's not my thing. So it was like I can't even talk about the performance because it wasn't my thing anyway. So I'm probably not the best one to But and I'll be the shitty, overly conservative guy and say, I don't know about her going out and grabbing her crotch and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I hate to play that. There are kids watching stuff, but well, there's a reason why my parents didn't hated the Super Bowl when I was a kid, because Justin Timberlake groped Janet Jackson, and
oh yeah,
I think that was my first live boob. It was pretty great, but
and for a while the last. No, but because you said the genre, it's not your genre, and so let's put it in perspective though. Let's say they announce next year's Super Bowl halftime show, and I'm trying to pull names out of my ass because I don't fucking know the country world. But let's say it was all-star country lineup, Garth Brooks, who was some older guys? I don't even know.
Trace Atkins comes out.
Sure, Trace Atkins. Dolly fucking Parton.
That's not fair. I'd be stoked on Dolly.
Sure, but my point is, if they announce this lineup of country stars from the 90s and 2000s that are when we were teenagers and growing up, I'm not a big fan of country, but even I would be like, wow.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Wow, like that. And so if they're trying, I think my point is, I think I can find the words. They try to make this thing a big event every year, the fucking Super Bowl halftime show, and 9 times out of 10, it's just a performance.
Yeah, it was. They kind of. It felt like they kind of phoned it in, and
yeah. Whereas last year, if I knew people who don't even like hip hop who were like, "Holy shit, these guys are all going to be together."
Yeah.
So I think that was the exception. Another exception was when Bruno Mars put a show on. I forgot which year he did it, but when Bruno Mars did a halftime show, he wasn't going up and down on platforms or bungee jumping or skydiving. It was literally just him and his band, and he fucking killed it.
I do remember that. I do remember thinking that was pretty good. Yeah, that was in Bruno Mars was a few years after Prince's performance, and that was the same kind of thing when Prince did it, because it was just him doing his concert and he had his guitar and all that.
But I would argue Prince is a big deal. I don't think he had performed in years before that, so that was a huge deal.
Was a big deal.
Yeah, okay. But hypothetically, let's say Michael Jackson was still alive, and he was retired. He hadn't performed in years, and they were like, Michael Jackson's going to perform at the fucking Super Bowl.
Yeah,
that's a big event.
Yeah,
so Elton John just did his last performance in the States, I believe, in L.A. So if 5-6 years from now, they said Elton John's coming back to perform at the Super Bowl, big event, big deal,
right?
But if you're just getting your common stars every year to just put on a performance, it's just underwhelming to me. Anyway, I just wanted to say it somewhere. That's why we had this thing.
Yeah, they can't all be bangers. We get it, because we got to have those occasional Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre performances and be like, wow. And unfortunately, Rihanna, it was a filler Super Bowl.
It was an intermission.
Yeah. Right.
I still think it would be great. Do you? I don't think either one of us really watches the Academy Awards much anymore. But do you remember? Jack Black and Will Ferrell came out to present, and they broke out into a musical, and then John C. Reilly joined them from the audience.
What? No, I don't remember that. Wow.
They were pretty much talking about how. No, it started with Will Ferrell. Sorry, he's on the stage by himself, and he's singing a song lamenting about how a comedian at the Oscars is a lonely, sad person because they never get nominated.
That does sound familiar now that you're saying it.
And then Jack Black came out, and then he joins him. He's like, what we should do is fight the nominees. So during this song, they start threatening, they're like, hey, I forgot the names of the people, but you suck. I'm going to kick the shit out of you. I'm paraphrasing. And then they get Mark Wahlberg, and Will Ferrell's like, Wahlberg, not going to mess with you, man. You seem pretty badass. And it's kind of a funny thing. I think then they went to Helen Mirren. I think Jack Black went to Helen Mirren and was like, you're looking good. I just want a piece of you. And then at that point, John C. Reilly in the audience stands up and he's like, guys, calm down. And they start singing about how you could be a comedian, but sometimes take a serious gig. And so then they break out in this final number and they finish. And it was really funny.
Yeah.
I remember talking to somebody several years ago, and it's like, what if that was the halftime show? Where instead of finding some fucking pop star to put on a regular performance, you find a handful of celebrities who do musical theater, and you put on a fucking half-hour musical.
Or even just a comedy routine or something.
Sure.
Eddie Murphy comes back and does a 15-minute set at the Super Bowl. That'd be.
Well, I mean, granted, he's retiring. Or if Steve Martin pulled his banjo out and did a 25-minute set.
Yeah,
just
that'd be pretty rad.
Something different. I think that would be great.
Yeah. Anyway. I have that same mind with like open mic nights. Anytime I go to an open mic night, it's always some college age kid that does a folk rendition of some popular song on their guitar. And it's like, okay, yeah. But then I remember going to one open mic night, two things happened. And it was like, I'd never seen either of this happen at any mic night since. One guy did stand up at an open mic. He went up and tried his set out. He had a little 5-minute set and he he was fine. He was funny though. And I'm like, oh my God, something different. I loved it. The other thing I saw was these two guys did a bluegrass duet. Like one guy had a standing bass and one guy had a guitar, and they did like a bluegrass song for their set. And I was like, this is awesome. I loved it. But yeah, do something different. That'd be great.
Yeah, and I think just because then it would be a spectacle. Like hypothetically, if they got Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly, Jack Black, let's throw in a few more. Adam Sandler, he could sing. I know a couple people, and they don't talk about what it is, but they're like, these people are going to perform the Super Bowl halftime show, and everyone's going to be like, the fuck? What?
Yeah.
And then
you could headline it as Tenacious D is going to play the Super Bowl. Yeah. And then they have like these guest appearances by Adam Sandler or others.
I've heard the Tenacious D shows, if you go see them in concert, are pretty much a play anyway. It's a musical theater, like there's a story and everything. So yeah, Tenacious D would be a fucking killer Super Bowl halftime show.
Yeah. And I get like the point of the halftime show is to kind of widen the appeal for different demographics. I mean, how many girlfriends and wives only watched it because they wanted to watch Rihanna, and how many Super Bowls is that the case? But can you imagine if like the touring show of Hamilton, the touring cast of Hamilton went up and did selected segments from Hamilton at the Super Bowl?
That would be fucking dope.
They would crush it. And especially this Super Bowl. And that's a good segue into my next point about the Super Bowl, because it was pretty woke. It was pretty woke, this Super Bowl. It was pretty woke.
How?
I mean, okay, it started with the Black National Anthem.
Okay.
There was that. There was all the commercials about, like, there was Will Ferrell trying to get all the big companies to sell more EV cars, and it's the least you can do, that kind of thing. There was the pushing the female flag football commercial during that. I guess it was mostly just commercials. The all-woman flyover during the national anthem. They were kind of like really going all out, in my opinion, for like, and I'm like, love it or hate it, but I'm like, after a while, it was kind of like, okay, what else is there to reach out and include, since we're so inclusive this one. But
I didn't really care. The flag football thing was surprising to me because I just didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
So I thought the commercial was funny, how she was trying to duck and dodge everyone trying to grab her flags.
Yeah.
I just didn't know that was a thing.
No one did, apparently, which is
so
very,
I know.
shameful.
One of my employees, her kids do flag football, and she said like, "Oh no, this is actually kind of a big thing now." And so when I saw that commercial, I was kind of like, "Oh, is it a big thing?" Because it's her daughter who does flag football. So I was like, "Oh, maybe this is like a thing now."
Yeah.
I don't know if I would call it woke.
Okay.
But everyone has different perspectives.
I'm just so tired of not singing just white men everywhere. It'd be, but whatever.
Well, we've actually, so to some people, so people know, Mitch and I joked around about how every episode we're always like, oh, we'll talk about that in a different episode. And there's a joke how there's like this list of things that we've never talked about. And so I actually went back in my car and I started listening to some old episodes and taking notes about different things we were going to talk about. And the Black National Anthem came up one time.
Oh,
and,
yeah. Okay.
And it's actually, and I said this, and granted at the time we didn't have the lyrics, but like it's actually a beautiful song. And so when they played it, like I said, I was doing other shit, but I heard it and I was kind of like, all right, cool. And that's about the extent I cared about it. Because it was just another song, another thing, another ceremony. If anything, I wouldn't say that the Super Bowl's too woke. I would say it's too much of a ceremony now. There's too much shit they do.
Yeah.
play the game. I think my dad even said I forgot what exactly would qualify it, but like the winning, whoever won the college championship that year, their marching band does the halftime show and leave every fucking thing else aside.
Yeah, that'd be cool. No commercials, just focus on the field every time there's a break and just commentary. So like just no commercials at all, no ceremony, no like you have like one of the head coach's kids come up and sing the national anthem, and that's it. And then
that should be the one pop star, the famous singer who sings the national anthem. Whatever else you want to fucking sing, fine. But
yeah.
So all that aside, like I have a thing about like stupid ceremony, like ceremonious things that just bothers me. Like
get Dr. Dre out there to sing the national anthem. That'd be funny.
That would be really funny, actually. But even when they're doing the coin toss, and I'm making up the refs, like, for the head side, it's going to be the Martin Luther King head coin, because that'll be the head side. The tail side's going to be the Betty Davis, and that's going to represent the women who've blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, flip the fucking coin! Like,
just flip some shit. Just go. God damn. Yeah.
I don't like the ceremony thing. I'm just like, just play the... Because all those guys on the field, as a former athlete a very, very long time ago, like, none of those guys give a fuck. They just want to play the game. And again, it's not about them. But
those, I don't know. There has to be a bit of savoring the moment kind of thing. There was the head coach crying during the national anthem because he's just overwhelmed. And so I'm sure it's not lost on most of them that, I just want to play the game. But this is kind of rad that we're here. Up till now, it's been about winning. But now it's like, oh my God, we're here. Win or lose, we're pretty cool. This is pretty cool. And then about halfway through, you're like, oh shit, no, I really want to win. But
well, I think I would agree. Like, it's like we're here. We run out in the field, cool. Like we're there. But then at some point, it's just like let's fucking get this going.
Yeah.
Like we've been standing here for 20 minutes.
Flip the damn coin. That's a great way to put it, actually.
And anyway, that's congrats to the Chiefs, I guess.
That was I will regret. One thing I will always regret is not putting money on the Eagles. I joked about it because putting money on the Chiefs. The Eagles were such the for sure win going into this. Everyone was like, oh my God, if the Chiefs win, the Eagles are gonna win. It's if like the Chiefs win the playoffs, the Eagles are gonna win. It's such a for sure thing. And it was so like obvious the Eagles were gonna win that it was almost not even fun to root for them. And then wow. But I heard somewhere that if you put some money down on the Chiefs to win, you could have made some good money. I don't know the exact numbers, but yeah.
I know whoever I would have bet on would have lost. Because that's just my life.
See, I should have bet on the Chiefs, but rooted for the Eagles.
That makes sense.
That'd have been so win-win.
Win-win. There you go.
Excuse me.
So off topic, but
you don't mind you don't mind the Black National Anthem being played before and all that?
So no, we can get into this topic too. No, I don't. I am against the whole ceremony aspect of most things. So it could be any song, and I'm going to be annoyed that it's just taking longer.
Yeah.
They could have played "Don't Stop Believing," and I'd be like, "Stop, just move on."
Yeah.
If they played Bohemian Rhapsody, I'm turning the TV off. But no, I didn't care. It's one of those things, and we may have touched on this before, where there are certain phrases and slogans and songs and things that most people get offended by, or dare I say triggered by, or annoyed by. And to me, I'm just kind of like, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect me in any way. I don't care. Like I said, it's actually, if you read the lyrics, it's actually a really nice, beautiful song. They call it the Black Anthem because it's supposed to, I think it was written to represent like overcoming slavery, like as a people. But the actual lyrics are universal. The lyrics themselves are strictly about overcoming horrible shit. It doesn't ever say specifically slavery. It just talks about going through bad shit and overcoming it and moving on, and etc. And like I said in the previous episode where we talked about it, like that's America. Like that's a great thing. Like it represents us and it's fine. And they want to play it. I think that's fine. It doesn't bother me. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think it's weird that
I will say it's kind of odd that they played 2 songs.
Yeah.
But that's not to do with any song. That's just kind of, like I said, the more of the ceremony to me. That bugs me.
Yeah. I mean, I get into a whole thing of it. It's like, well, I mean, they trot it out with the national anthem and then they play this other anthem with it. We don't have to say black national anthem. We'll just say this other anthem.
Just an alternate
to play.
Anthem, yeah.
To play along with the national anthem. And it's kind of like, well, it seems to be the root of all racial strife or I should say one of the roots of racial strife that we see in America is this mentality of them and us. We've talked before about dichotomy and how much it can, well, it's designed to divide. And because we're so simple-minded, we need a this or that. The most racial issues, in my opinion, stem from that us and them mentality of it's because they are them and we don't know what them are, so we're afraid of them. They're not like we, so because we're afraid of it, we should hate it, and etc. But in my opinion, in a game where it's the most watched television thing in the world, and it's not even aired in 99% of the world, it's kind of, here's this one unifying American thing, and to begin it all with a us and them kind of ceremony, and it is just how it seemed. This is how it looked. I mean, it's like, hey, let's have our our American anthem, but before we do that, let's have this anthem for some marginalized kind of mentality to get out of it. And even if that wasn't the intent, why not why that anthem? Why specifically that anthem, and why not others? And then it's like, well, is there other motives behind choosing this song in particular? Is it because of the context that it had historically, what it was used for, and why people call it the Black National Anthem? So I can't help but wonder. It's like, if we're trying to get over this divide and unify, why do we still maintain, or why do some people still want to promote this us and them kind of thing? Something like that.
I don't know. That's a lot to digest. Again, this is just, everyone has different perspectives. I never took it as a us versus them thing, or us not us versus them, but us and them thing. I never really took it that way. To me, it's just more like we. Like, because we actually, the same episode we brought it up, we talked about how the national anthem is actually a really horrible song. not context, just the way it's written. And so I think it's not necessarily like, okay, that's your song and this is our song. It's more like, these are our songs. That's how I've always taken it.
Right, but of the list of songs in the world, this one is the best. This one is like the one that outshines all the other songs.
Well, we can go down the list of people who pick, if it's a song, if it's a food item, anything, and it's like, this is the best one you wanted to pick. This is the one.
Yeah.
But considering, I mean, like I said, I haven't looked at the, I don't know what list there would be of possible songs to play before the national anthem. But like, it's a good song. It's a positive song. It's not negative. It's not. See,
now we're getting into like just the song itself, though. I mean, if we want to change the national anthem, we can. I mean, I'm totally for changing the national anthem. I know it's a shit song. It's the lyrics.
We talked about the lyrics, everything,
and it's like, it's a shit song, but nevertheless, it is our national anthem, and that's what's played before sporting events. If it's such a bad song that we want to play another song with it, then maybe we should just change the song, make something else our national anthem. The point is, it's our national anthem that they play before a sporting event. And this marginalized group of people feel like they should have a song that represents them and their struggle played before it. Why them? Why that group? Why not another group? Why not more groups? Why not a woman's national anthem or, or what? But
I'm actually going to make a note to research why that song was picked, etc., and then we can talk about it again.
Okay.
Just because I don't like when we're actually recording and trying to go find something, so I'm going to make a note to look it up.
Okay.
Because like I'm giving speculation to why they picked it, but I really don't know the reason, so I don't want to speak on it if I don't know.
I mean, if you consider just the optics, it was shit. Is African American offensive now? Are we not allowed to say? Anyway, it was a black lady. It was a black lady that sang it, supported by an all black chorus.
Okay.
To say it wasn't a particular marginalized group of people's motive to do that song is, I don't know. It doesn't really. That's kind of naive, in my opinion. It's like, obviously they picked this song
I think
for that,
there probably is a lot of racial implications behind it. I think perspective-wise, and this goes across a lot of different things, on how people react to things, is it's just like, that doesn't bother me. To me, it's just more inclusion, more diversity, more things to celebrate. That's where, like, again, and this, we don't have to go into this topic, but like when someone says Black Lives Matter, if your knee-jerk reaction is to say all lives matter, like, that's your perspective on what they're trying to say. When someone says Black Lives Matter to me, I'm like, cool, yeah, and that it doesn't bother me. And granted, there's a whole layer of things with that. I was just taking the basic point on the surface. So for them to like, for the NFL to be like, oh, we want this black woman and this black choir to come out and sing this song, to me, I'm like, cool, good for them. I don't get bothered by it. I think, and I'm gonna maybe piss you off by saying this, I think a lot of reactions to this kind of stuff is very hyperbolic and a little over the top, when it really, if you really just think about the baseline, it's like, this is just easy. Like, this is just nothing. This is just something that's nice. And if to feel attacked or feel like it's woke or feeling like that, it's not. It's just more to celebrate.
I guess that's true.
Because you pretty much, when something like this happens, and I'm going to use kind of hyperbolic language, you could not choose, but either feel a certain way to where you feel it's almost like an attack, or you could just be like, they're just doing their thing. And that's just depending on how you react to it. Like, my reaction is like, all right, cool, great. Whereas some people's reactions are like, this is woke. And so, like, that's just depends on your perspective of it. And like, to me, I just don't care.
Okay.
My apathy defines a lot of things.
Yeah.
I'm just like, fine.
Yeah, I guess it was more just I feel like it was woke. I don't feel attacked by it. I don't feel like defensive.
Well, that's why I said it might have been hyperbolic by saying attacked. I want to make
no, but I mean, because you're not wrong. There are a lot of people that feel that way, and legitimately or not is another issue. But I guess my point was, I remember the Budweiser horses or the frogs that used to croak next to the swamp. I remember when the Super Bowl was, let's watch football and eat and drink too much, and that was it. Now it's, as with most everything in our culture, in my opinion, is that there's got to be some kind of message about it. There's got to be some kind of virtual signal about it.
That's fair.
And it's like football, and quite frankly, it kind of hit a boiling point with football when Kaepernick took his fucking knee, because it was like, God, we had football. You took football now too? Now we can't just sit and watch football. We got to make that something we need to think about, something else. We can't just watch a game. Now we have to be worried about whether or not someone's being included or not. It's, I don't know. It was kind of,
No, I think, so I'm of the mind, and this goes across sports and celebrities and everything, that if you're someone who wants to use your position to raise awareness or make a point, I'm okay with that. And I'm not a hypocrite where it's like, if someone comes out and says something I don't like, I'm gonna be like, just fucking entertain us. Like, I'm not
right, yeah.
Whoever wants to say whatever they want. Like, I don't like Trump. John Voight came out and said Trump's the greatest president ever. I wasn't posting about how fucking horrible John Voight is. I was like, that's his position, cool. Clint Eastwood went to the National Republican Convention one year and did a weird thing with, he was talking like the chair, he was Obama. Anyway, and then obviously most of Hollywood comes out and says their fucking piece all the time. If an athlete wants to say their shit, cool. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
The Kaepernick thing I actually think is fascinating because I feel like, and this is 100% the story all the time in most of these things. I feel like if no one, because there was a reaction of like Kaepernick's not patriotic, et cetera, whatever. I feel like if no one fucking said anything,
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't have gained the traction it did.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? It's
like
there's
if people didn't get as pissed off at it.
Yeah, I don't think it would have been a big thing. It's there's a term for it online to where like, what was the fucking example? To where if I want something to go viral, I'm not gonna post it repeatedly. I'm gonna post about how mad I am that it's going viral, and then more people are gonna focus on it because now there's outrage.
Yeah,
there's a term for it. I forgot what it was called.
There's the was it Tom Sawyer with the painting the fence kind of thing? It's like, oh man, I'm so glad I get to do this. The reverse psychology of it. Like,
yeah.
I really hope no one talks about this or whatever. You leak a picture and then get really pissed off that the picture was leaked, and
it's almost a reaction to the reaction, not a reaction to the actual thing.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's what I kind of found it funny about Kaepernick was that, because I really didn't even, because I don't watch a lot of football, but I didn't really know about it till it already became a big thing. But I feel like if everyone's just like, don't give this thing oxygen, don't talk about it, don't get mad about it, don't even post about it, just ignore it. That he would have been on his knee for maybe 3 or 4 weeks and then been like, oh, this isn't doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Then he just go back to sitting on the bench because he was not starting.
Which I still hold the fact that he just didn't care and was just sitting there and forgot that the national anthem was playing.
Yeah.
And then someone asked him why, and he's like,
Like I said, I've been listening to our old episodes looking for shit, and I remember when we were talking about that, and it actually made me laugh, and I was like, that would actually be fucking hilarious if like years from now he came out with an op-ed or like a book, and he admitted that like, I actually he's like, I didn't know what was going on, so I was sitting down.
I remember I was in Denver when that happened, and I remember watching it, and I remember everyone like in the bar, because I was in a bar before the game, and everyone was like, oh my fucking fuck, and I remember watching it, and I remember watching Kaepernick sitting, because he's sitting on a bench, and I'm like, he doesn't look like he knows what's happening. He looks like he's just kind of like distracted and not really like, it looks like he just wasn't paying attention, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh shit, there's a camera, oh my god, and then I'm going to be asked about this.
I'm trying to think of something. I love that. It's kind of, this is,
I'll always believe that's the case. Yeah.
I love that. Even if it's not true, I love it. It's kind of like, and this is a dark joke, but there's a joke where it's like Mary cheated on Joseph. And when he's like, you're pregnant, we haven't had sex. She's like, it's a miracle baby.
Yeah.
And so that's what I thought of when you're talking about Kaepernick, just going, oh shit, I forgot to stand up. What do I say?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I remembered the point, what the topical thing I was going to mention, because I was listening to it on the radio today, and it was fascinating. I'm like, I'm going to bring this up to Mike later.
Yeah.
Literally last minute, like, oh shit, I should think of something to talk about on the podcast. Let me turn on the radio. That's interesting. I'll tell Mike. But I was trying to remember if there's anything else about football that I wanted to say. Oh, not really. I'm bummed because football's over. That's the thing. It's just
it depends on what hat I'm wearing, of my opinion on that. Owner of a bar hat, also bummed. Personal hat who hates football fans, psyched.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to like start getting into hockey or something. They like hockey here.
You're not a big basketball fan, right?
Not really. No, I used to play it like in school and all that. I used to play it all the time. Never on a team, just streets. You know, that was my thing. But never really followed it. Well, I watched a few championships when Kobe and Shaq were just killing it.
Well, sure.
But that was about it.
Okay.
But
basketball's still going. They're about halfway through their season.
Oh, okay. March Madness, right?
Huh?
Is this March Madness? Nope, that's in March. But
is North Carolina a big hockey state?
I'm not sure if it is. I just know that the Hurricanes are over here, and everyone around here is a big Hurricanes fan. You know what?
Yeah.
Even though the Panthers play 3 hours away, like if you walk around, it looks like the people here give two shits about the NFL. It's college ball, because there's like 17 major colleges all within walking distance of where I am right now, and they all have a different team. There's Duke, there's UNC, there's all these major colleges. They all have football and they all just will fight to the death about it. It's amazing.
That's the South in general, I feel like.
Yeah. I think you're right.
So I know I grew up going to Alabama. I had family there, and they don't have any professional football teams in Alabama. But my mom would say if you went to an Auburn game or an Alabama University game, University of Alabama, sorry, like it would be like it was a pro game. Like everyone's there, psyched. Like people don't even have family that go to that college. They're just in the city and they go. Like,
see, maybe I'll either get into hockey or college ball, and if I get into college ball, I'll get to go to the game. So I got to pick one of these colleges, I guess, to ally myself with and just run with it.
Just roll the dice.
Yeah, just roll them dice. Anyway, okay, so I had this really kind of interest. This is kind of a Mitch's list, but this is it was fascinating listening to these very Republican commentators talk about how terrible it is. But there was a poll taken, Axios poll, whatever. They asked a bunch of Americans, survey of 1,200 adults conducted in February of this year.
Okay.
What are the biggest threats to public health?
Okay.
The biggest threats to public health, and they divided it by Republicans and Democrats. What do Republicans think are the top things most threatening to public health versus what do Democrats think are the top things? So before I get into the actual results, would you want to take a guess as to what you think the actual threats might be, and then what you think Republicans and Democrats would say?
So it was like health threats or just threats to America? What was I'm sorry, I blanked for a minute.
What is the current greatest threat to U.S. public health? This was taken February 17th through 21st. So just last week, let's say.
Public health.
With all events happening, we got balloons falling from the air. We got trains forgetting how to train. It's crazy. So
I'm trying to think public health. I'm sure some of the Democrats will probably be saying COVID still.
Okay.
I'd imagine, depending on the strength, how far hard Republicans they are, I'm sure drag queens are in there somewhere. The Republican side, abortion might be a thing, because I know that was a big public health thing for them.
Okay.
Democrats, though, did you want my opinion on what it is, or?
First, what you think they would say, and then what you think what you believe it is.
I want to know what I would believe it is. I don't know.
So public health, okay, cancer. That's a good one.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm not educated enough, but for the greatest threat to public health. You know what? The Democrats will probably bring up climate change a lot.
Climate change, okay, yeah.
Which I think there's something to that. I'm not sure if it's the number one threat, but I think there's something about climate change with the public health. Yeah, I don't know. Just the typical shit: cancer, AIDS, vaccines. I don't know.
Yeah.
the Democrats definitely will. There's probably some that said COVID, climate change probably got brought up. And then the Republicans probably brought up probably the abortion issue.
Okay.
Just fucking tell us what. Just go into it.
Okay, yeah, I'll get to it. Some of mine that I thought was going to be if I had to guess what they would say is, I would guess the Democrats would say climate change and COVID-19. If I had to guess, the Republicans would say the biggest threat to public health is what do I think most Republicans would say?
Some of the harder Republicans might say vaccines, actually.
Vaccines, criminal violence in our inner cities, like just criminals shooting people, innocent people in our inner cities. I'm picturing like the gun-toting, Second Amendment Republicans that are thinking,
Sure.
All the people coming over the border are just going to kill us all.
I was actually going to say that the border probably is mentioned several times too.
Yeah, so that's what I would guess. If I were CNN conducting it, that's what I would say the Republicans would say. But personally, what I would believe is the biggest threats to public health, maybe obesity being one.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Which turned out was one of the major ones, but and yeah, just like what is the main killer is like heart disease or something like that. So I figured, okay, people aren't fit and they're eating like shit, so they're probably having heart attacks. That's what I would say is the biggest threat.
That's pragmatic, yeah. Very pragmatic.
Anyway, so here's what they actually said. So do you want the Republicans number one or Democrats number one first?
Let's go alphabetical order. Let's go Democrats.
Democrats at 35%. You know what? No, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to say Republicans. Republicans at 37% believed that opioids and / fentanyl was the number one threat.
When I turned it over to you, I actually started thinking Republicans are going to say fentanyl.
37% of Republicans said opioids and fentanyl. 25% of Republicans, so second place, was obesity. Okay. And third place at 17% was cancer. And the rest are like so small, it doesn't really matter. Democrats, number one greatest threat to U.S. public health is guns or firearm access.
I was actually thinking that after I stopped talking, that they would probably bring up the gun thing.
Bring up gun. And then the next one by not even close. Almost half of that was opioids and then obesity. And then some of the other trailers for Democrats were cancer and COVID-19. Unsafe roads made 5% for Democrats. Republicans, opioids, then obesity, then cancer, and then way down at 4% was guns, and then smoking or tobacco products was way down there. Believe it or not, more Republicans said that smoking and tobacco products, more Republicans said that was a danger to threat than Democrats did. So that's interesting. But I'm going to hold it up to the camera. We'll see if we can see it.
Yeah.
Is it? No, it's not. Okay, but anyway.
Yeah,
don't. So here's gun violence, and then everything else is kind of whatever. Here, Republicans, you got, what did I say? Fentanyl, then cancer, and then obesity and stuff. But that kind of surprised me. I was kind of surprised by that being the number one thing. As of last week, Democrats polled. Now, this is the ones polled. This is only 1,200 people polled. So where did they take that poll? I don't know. I didn't really dive into it. I just thought it was kind of a surprising thing that's what not overwhelmingly, but what a large portion of them believe to be the biggest threat.
The gun violence.
Mm-hmm. It surprised me.
I'm surprised and not surprised because I know, agree with it or don't agree with it, that the gun violent thing is a constant thing that you hear about because most of these shootings they say like on average there's at least one or two a day. So you always hear one, and always makes the national news. So and then the anti-gun thing, not anti-gun thing, but stricter gun control thing is a hard Democrat talking point. So if you have people identifying themselves as Democrats, they're hearing that talking point. So I'm with you. I'm surprised because like my head at first did not go to guns. I mean, later I kind of thought about it, but at first it went to actual health things, obesity, cancer, disease, etc. So I'm surprised. At the same time, knowing Democrat talking points, I am also not surprised. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, each Republicans and Democrats have their main talking points. Republicans talk economy, they talk crime rates, they talk corruption. Democrats, they talk gun violence, they talk racism, they talk, they all have their main bullet points. But gun violence up there was kind of like if they said racism was the biggest threat to public health. I'm like, okay, gun violence.
Depending.
Yeah, and then too, it's like, well, if they did this poll last year, like right after that shooting down in Uvalde, Texas, then yeah, I could definitely see how that would be number one. But the timing for it being just last week, that's surprising. It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Polls.
But as we round second base for, we just had midterms, and now people are officially saying that they're running for president, and the 2024 elections are coming. They're all getting ready. So yeah, I mean, do you think gun violence is going to be a major talking point in this one?
I think it always is. Because I have my opinion on the gun violence thing, and I have my quote-unquote proposed solutions that, of course, no one ever thinks about because they are too busy just arguing with each other. But I think it'll always be an issue until it's not. Because, I mean, hate it or love it, hate it or not hate it, it is an American issue. There's, an absurd amount of gun, shootings every day. You can call it the people just shooting each other at schools, in inner cities, whatever it is. It's a very uniquely American issue. So I think it's always going to be a topic until someone finds a solution, whatever it is. And yeah, so it'll still be a talking point. Long story short, it'll still be a talking point.
Yeah. Yeah, a roundabout way to say, yeah. I'm so right now I'm already kind of gearing up, and I'm getting ready. Okay, what are the things that we're suddenly going to really care about? I think the Republicans are obviously going to be driving home the national security thing. The fact that we have all these spy balloons over America all of a sudden. All of a sudden we have all these balloons coming in. So it's wait, are they seriously all of a sudden there, or are they all of a sudden now giving a shit and now shooting them down?
Yeah, because they said, and this is not an insult to the Trump administration, but they did come out, and there were people in the military, in that administration, that said there were balloons that went over. It was 3 or 4, I forgot, during that administration. I just think now it's a talking point. Yeah,
they'll hit that. The Republicans will talk about the border as well. That'll be a main thing. But their biggest one's going to be the economy. The Republicans always kind of get to rest on that one.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you think Biden's going to run? Do you think Biden will survive?
Man, I hate that I become so apathetic towards these motherfuckers, but as of right now, let's just lay it out there. Trump has announced his presidency, and Nikki Haley has. I've been very transparent that I don't like Trump. I don't think he's a good president, so of course I don't want him. Nikki Haley I'd be open to, except she's pretty much just younger female Trump. So I'm okay. And then Biden, Jesus Christ.
And everyone is, not to cut you off, but everyone's still they're not in suspense. They're just waiting for DeSantis to announce that he's going to.
The way he's been talking, he's pretty much already campaigning.
Yeah, so it's kind of everyone's okay, Ron DeSantis is probably going to run. We're just waiting for him to announce it, but
yeah. And we don't have to go into the details now, but when DeSantis first came on the scene, I was kind of digging him, and now I'm kind of not about him anymore. We don't have to go about it. So that's the Republican lineup, because I think anybody outside of DeSantis and Trump is irrelevant, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I'm already disappointed there. From my understanding, Biden has the intention to run again.
Yeah.
Which, if I were a Democrat, I wouldn't like. Because even if you can make the argument that he has been a wonderful president, which I think you'd have to really lawyer up that fucking argument. But even if you could, 1, there is the age issue. 2, the health issue because of the age. And this kind of goes for Trump as well. They're both getting up there. And there's, granted, there's not a lot of Democrats I like, but there are better options. I think in the Republicans, they have better options than DeSantis and Trump, but here we are again, last time, picking the ones I don't think should be there because I know everything. But anyway,
I remember a point that Nancy Pelosi, God save her, was actually made was I don't know if she officially made it. It was more of like a report of what she believed. She believed that Democrats kind of dropped the ball the past 10, 20 years because they weren't fostering the next generation of Democrats that were coming up. And the Republicans kind of seemed to be doing a really good job of that, of like, hey, holy shit, we might die one day. We should get some younger guys up and girls like in here to kind of like take our place. And they've kind of raised a younger generation of Republicans, whereas Democrats didn't do that so much, at least in the higher political offices.
Yeah, I would agree with that to an extent. I'm not sure because, granted, I'm not sure if the Republicans are doing a better. I guess they'd be doing a better job. I don't like their new generation coming in. I think a lot of them are fucking weirdos. But no, you're 100% right. So I remember the Hillary versus Trump election was a great example where the Democratic field had. I mean, granted, Bernie is old as fuck too. But they did have a few people in there who were kind of newer on the scene, younger, respective to the ages they are. Because even you talk about the new generation taking over, they're still like in their fucking 50s. And even this last time around, like when it was Biden versus Trump, the Democratic field, in my opinion, had some decent candidates that were younger, had energy, and for some fucking reason, they went with Biden.
It's the establishment, man.
I guess.
Well, the thing is this is an opinion, a theory. The younger you go, the more delusioned you get into people thinking that they're special and that they don't want to conform to the bigger picture. It's why most new churches are filled with young people that don't want to conform. And well, I'll just go back to politics, because we get a lot of the Bernie heads that don't want to conform to the Hillary Clintons or whatever. And they're like, no, I want it my way or the highway. I want this guy that's perfect for me. And because of that, you get a lot of division, and there should always be some division, right? But that was kind of, and we talked about this before, is there's this theory that why Hillary lost, not even a theory, it's just true. One of the reasons why Hillary lost is because there were so many Bernie bros that were so devout to Bernie and were like, no, it's this or nothing. It's perfection or nothing. And it's that folly of, or I mean, the proverb of perfection being the enemy of the good. Good enough wasn't good enough. They needed perfect. So when you get the followers of like Beto O'Rourke or Pete Buttigieg, you know, those guys that are like, you know, you get the younger generation coming up, but their base is so like, no, it's our guy or nothing. It's that younger kind of not going to conform to the bigger picture kind of thing. Meanwhile, you get Biden and all his followers are old as fuck too. And they all have kind of figured out. It's like, you know what? He might not be perfect, but hey, he's on our side and he's better than nothing. And you know, let's go with that. So
I think it should be like 40s and 50s to where it's not like you're getting a president who's like in their 20s or 30s. So you have someone who's like experienced in life, but they're not forgetting how to spell their name.
You can't. There is an age requirement. You have to be at least 35.
Well, you understand what I'm saying, though. Like I would say someone in their like late 40s to 50s. I think that should be the range we shoot for. I saw a meme online, and it was on the fucking head so hard. It was like the national retirement age is 65. So why are we almost exclusively voting for presidents who are over 70? When, as a society, we've deemed that 65 is when you should no longer work.
See, that's dumb. You should be retiring way later than that. See, I took that I took it as a completely different, and I mean that legitimately. I think people retire way too early now because fuck that.
And that's a fair point, and that's a discussion to be had. The point, though, is right now as a society, we've deemed 65 the age, but then we vote. Yeah, I do see that point. It's a valid point too. It's why are we voting for guys that are 10 years past the retirement age? And that's what was one of the things that Republicans hit on during the last election as well. And if they drove this point home, they might have won.
But it was like, you know, the Democrats so often rally behind the let's get rid of the old white people and get some young, fresh blood in there. And all their finalists were old white dudes. And it was just...
Their final two was Biden and Bernie, yeah.
It was just amazing. And I'm like, this is ironic. And if the Republicans just hit that point, if Trump shut the fuck up and the Republicans just hit that point, they would have won. No question. But
I think... So I will say, I don't think Biden won that election. I think you're right. Trump lost it.
Yeah.
For himself.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I might have said this before. True story. The last election where I actually felt like, okay, I like this was Obama versus McCain.
Okay.
Because granted, like Obama, I had some issues with him when he was actually in office. And I'm sure if McCain won, I would have had issues with him too. That's what I do. I find issues with people. But in that election year, I remember like the respect they had for each other, the way they treated each other. I still think it was great. I forgot what crisis it was, but something happened during the election cycle. McCain and Obama both went to the White House and met with George W. Bush and to together come up with like a plan. And I thought that was great. Like there was like a partnership there. They both went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner and kind of roasted each other. And it was great. And then there was that thing where during a rally, a woman got up and started calling Obama a Muslim and how he might be a terrorist. And McCain was like, no, he's not. I don't agree with him on everything, but he's a good man. Like, stop. And I just remember like thinking like, this is great. And I think I voted third party because I just didn't give a fuck who won. You fast forward to 2016, and I voted third party because I could not in good conscience give my vote to either person. And it's just sad to me that's I don't know where we come.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you, but it's hard to have perspective. Like, is this normal? Is this amount of change normal? I mean, and you could read about past elections back in the 80s and 70s and 60s before and all that, and you wonder how much does it actually change. But you're never going to be in your living room watching it on TV at that time. You know, you're never going to get the full grasp of how much things change. But
oh, sure,
yeah. Dang it! I had something I was going to say and I forgot. Oh,
yeah. Well, I will say, because these things have things change. I think elections have always been contentious. Like even you said you played sports. When you played sports, little leagues or whatever, and like your best friend's on the other team, he's not your best friend at the moment.
No,
in fact, you might go after him. But the game's over. You shake hands. You're friends. I do feel like in recent years, it's become more contentious to where when the game's over, you're not friends still.
Maybe.
I feel that way. I do think in the past it's different, but in recent years, I think it's been more contentious.
But there are still moments where, you know, not Elizabeth Warren, what the fuck is our vice president's name?
Kamala Harris.
That one.
Yeah.
When she was calling Biden a racist during the primary run, and then, you know, afterwards it's like, oh, no, we're cool. That was what? It was the election. What? Ha, 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 ha. But,
yeah, there's a level to that. I don't know.
Me neither.
I'll stop there. The example I was going to give is, yes, that was a pretty bad one too, but like, if me and you, we've debated on this before. We've had disagreements. We've discussed them, and I think we've had really good conversations. But if we were discussing Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter, I don't know, we're talking about something, and you went out of your way to call my wife an ugly dog, like,
yeah,
when the episode's over, I'm not going to be happy with you. I'm not going to be okay with you.
Yeah,
and that's where like. Like there's lines crossed and there's certain things that happen like where I'm just kind of like, no, we're not okay.
Yeah.
If that were to happen.
A good point, but
and yeah, I don't know. I just my main thing right now, because we're talking about the next election, I just don't understand people's mindsets when they're voting, and that's Republican and Democrat. I just don't understand the appeal of Trump or the appeal of Biden. I truly did not understand it. I don't know. That's where like they're talking about the next election. And it's like, I don't.
Did you know more people in California voted for Trump than in Texas?
I would believe that, strictly based on population. Yeah.
That's mostly it. But it's kind of a point that I blew my fucking mind. Also, did you know that the California is like losing population?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the first time it's in the past like 3 years or whatever. It's actually the population has decreased to California.
And you know what? I'm completely 100% okay with that.
Totally fine with that too. Fuck you guys. I don't even.
Well, no, like 'cause I know you left, but no, it's kind of funny. Like, so this will be the final topic. So actually, this is something I've thought about. California has gotten a lot of heat in recent years. For whatever reasons you want to bring up, it has taken a lot of heat. The majority of things I've heard is it's too expensive to live here, taxes are high, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they're not wrong, but in my response is, if you understand the simple laws of supply and demand, what do you expect to happen?
Exactly.
Yep. Granted, I like cold weather, so I'm kind of weird living in California. But like to normal people's standards, the weather's great. There's tons of shit to do. Mm-hmm. So the climate's nice. There's tons of things to do. Hollywood's down the road. You could ski and then go to the beach in the same day. It's a very good place to live. So if a lot of people want to live here, it's going to cost more.
100%.
It's basic economics.
Yeah.
So when people are like, we're leaving California, granted, I remember I read something actually a week or two ago to where like the population is lowering, but it's not like at a drastic rate. It's just kind of like lowering.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm like, please leave. Because if enough people leave, all this shit you're talking about is going to solve itself.
Yep.
Prices will go down, rent will go down. Like, that's kind of helping.
I mean, that was my whole point. And it's like, you know, I disliked California. I disliked living in California. And I was like, well, I mean, it's not worth the cost for me, so I'm going to go somewhere else. And that's like really what everyone's freedom is. Everyone can do that. People here can be like, you know what? I don't know if I like the whole Southern style. I think I'm going to live somewhere else. And that's the fucking beauty of it. You don't need to try to change where you're living. But someone asked me at work today, you know, that the other day, what California was like. And the first word that came to mind was just crowded. Granted, I live near LA, but it was like, it's just crowded. Cause that's the one thing I'm still like I shouldn't say not comfortable with, but I'm still like getting used to here is just not just the traffic. It's just people everywhere. I had this image of living in Southern California is like, if you're all standing in a group, like let's say you're at a concert and you're all standing in like the front, all standing together, shoulder to shoulder, and you're all running at the same speed down a road really, really fast. That's what it feels like living in California. It's just crowded and everyone's really fast and it's hard to breathe and it's just weird. Now, there's paradise at the beach. There's paradise in the mountains. There's Joshua Tree. There's amazing Southwest deserts. It's a beautiful freaking place. And because of that, a lot of people live there. It's summer year round, except for right now, because I heard it's snowing. What the fuck is that?
It's the biggest, one of the largest winter storms is coming this week.
I love the cold weather and I can't believe it. I leave and then all of a sudden you guys get really good weather.
Yeah, right.
But
I'm enjoying it.
No, but but back to it, I 100% agree. It's like, you know what? That's the cost to live there. And for me, it's like, I don't really like the hot weather. I don't mind that. I don't really like the desert or all that, the nightlife. I don't think it's really worth the cost. So I think I'm going to live somewhere else. And, you know, that's just the way to do it.
Capitalism 101. Yeah. It just makes me laugh that California gets so much, because truth be told, if the restaurant wasn't holding me here and if my lady didn't have her job and her parents moved here recently, so it'd be kind of hard for us just to move away on them. But if those weren't factors, we had just hypothetically talked about, we'd probably like move to Denver or up to Portland or definitely somewhere else. Just where the weather is different, prices are better. But we're kind of go on, sorry.
It's not even a strictly political thing too. If you were a blue as can bleed blue, you know, Democrat, there's a lot of really blue places in the country with different weather, different cultures and all that. So it's not even really just that, but
it just makes me laugh. Like in recent years, for whatever reason, just everyone's just hating on California, like California and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, yo, we have like, what is it? The 5th biggest economy in the fucking world.
And you're all in debt.
Well, everyone's in debt. My point is, like, you can go down the line of like why you hate California, but at the end of the day, we're one of the few states in the union that if every state were to go independent, California's cool.
Yeah, we'd be all right. But yeah.
Yeah, like we're cool. Like, and that's where I get the criticisms, but when people get so fucking up in arms about how stupid California is, I'm like, yo, we can literally just fucking cut everyone off in this country and we're good.
Yeah. See, and it's one thing I do need to be better about, because I'll shit on California any chance I get, and I don't want to do that anymore, because it's like, no, I mean, you made your decision, you left, now just be with it. Don't talk shit about your ex. Just, that was it. It didn't go well, and that was that.
Didn't work out. Yeah.
It didn't work out. So it's become like a running joke with my sister, because my sister lives in Washington.
Yeah.
But she grew up in California as well. But I keep comparing California to just a toxic ex that I had, and a hypothetical toxic ex, where it's like, and I was telling her today, I'm like, oh my God, like now California's getting snow, and it's like getting really cold weather and really nice, and which is my favorite kind of weather, and it's always just been hot there every time I'm there, and it's terrible. And I was telling my sister, I'm like, man, you know how like when you leave your abusive ex and you find someone else and he's great and he takes care of you and he wants what's best for you, but then you look back and your ex is not getting better as a person, but now he's going to the gym and now he's getting in shape and he's looking just thick and awesome and hot, and it's like, God, you couldn't do that when we were together. But no, I'm still glad because I'm happier now. No, but. No, but I do need to be better about that. I think I shit on California a little too much, and it's like, no, it's done. You left. That was your decision. People live there, and that's their thing. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things, like I've always said about everything. Like, criticisms are criticisms, but when you're like, just not when I say you, I don't mean you. I just mean in general, like you, the generic you. When people are like crazy about it, I'm just kind of like, relax, man. Like,
that's what I'm
like,
worried about
chill.
Doing, and yeah, I don't want to do that. I think I could say. I think I've talked more shit about Florida than I have California since I've left.
Well, you're punching down, yeah.
Because Florida's just so shit. It's just so shit. I've never been, but God, I don't want to go. It sounds terrible.
You have to be very careful where you go, yeah.
It's like I like some of the politicians there, and I like some of the businesses and people that have moved there, but Florida itself is just a swamp. Gross.
Literally, yeah.
Anyway. That's all I got. I got snow. Yeah, and that's it. Oh, shit. There was one more point about the Super Bowl I was going to make, because you talked about this because you watched it alone because you were sick or whatever. But that one commercial for Tubi, whatever the streaming service was, made it look like it paused and all that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it had everyone made the commercial. If you guys haven't seen it, the commercial is the screen pauses like someone pressed pause or something.
It was on the anchors, the guys who were actually working the Super Bowl was on them first, and then yeah,
and then so it made it look like someone sat on the remote and changed, and everyone, me and the whole group I was with, like started looking for the remote and all that.
So
and
let's talk about that, because I know everyone said like that experience, like someone changing the channel, someone touched like bumping the remote, whatever. Here was my experience. So you've been to my house.
This is why I wanted to bring it up, because it cracked me up.
So you remember, like when we bought it, the woman who owned it before us set up a box in the hallway to where it transmits the signal to like different TVs. Right. So I had the Super Bowl on that box, so that way the TV in the kitchen is playing it. The TV outside by the grill is also playing it. And so I was outside grilling, watching the TV, and that happened.
Yeah.
So I didn't sit on a fucking remote. I'm going, who the fuck is in my house? You understand what I'm saying? So I was like, what the fuck? And so immediately, because I see it like the thing changing, I was like, did Erica get home and not tell me? So I walked inside and walked to like, because the remote for the box is in the kitchen because you could reach it from the kitchen. Anyway, so I walked to the kitchen, and by the time I get to the kitchen, regular programming has resumed. You understand what I'm saying?
No.
So
the
I was
commercial
like,
was over. Well,
yeah, so
it
I was like,
looked like a regular commercial by that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was just normal, and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? So on one hand, I thought someone got home or someone was in my house, and then when I walked inside and the TV was just playing normal, I was like, am I losing my fucking mind right now? You know what I mean? I was like, what?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like, I did not even know it was a commercial until after the Super Bowl ended and people were posting memes about it.
Oh my God. So you thought that whole time, the end of the game, you thought like someone fucked with your TV.
Either one, someone ran in my house, fucked with the TV and ran out, or two, I lost my mind for 30 seconds.
Or something fell on the remote and it just bugged out for a bit, and
whatever it was, because like I said, the thing started changing outside. I don't have the remote on me, so I was like, is someone home? Did Erica get home? I went inside. By the time I see a TV again, regular programming.
Wow.
And so I legitimately was like, what the fuck was that about?
Yeah.
Like, what the and I kind of just forgot about it, and then later people were posting memes about it, and I was like, oh, got it.
Oh my God, so scary.
But for that 30 seconds, I literally was like, what the fuck is happening? Because that's what everyone...
For that 30 seconds, you were like, all right, I guess I need to get a gun or something.
Yeah, and that's where, like, I brought it up to somebody. I was like, that fucking commercial, and they're like, yeah, everyone thought they sat on the remote. And I was like, no, I thought I was in danger. Like,
yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
See, Mike had mentioned it in the group chat that he was home alone watching it, and I thought, that'd be funny because if I were sitting there watching the game, here's what I pictured when you said that. If I was sitting there on the couch watching the game, like, because you were feeling under the weather, you're feeling sick.
I was sick of playing.
He probably had some NyQuil, and he probably chased it with some whiskey, so he's probably fucked up watching the game.
I was day drinking, yes.
With the remote sitting on the table in front of him, and then all of a sudden it paused and like starts wigging out. I pictured Mike sitting there, looking at the remote, looking at the TV, and just tripping, and had a bad trip experience. That's what
it was close.
Yeah. Well,
but that was the main thing when I would bring up my story, though. I'm repeating myself, is that people are like, "Oh, you thought you sat on the remote or something," and I was like, "No, the remote was 30 feet away in a different room. I was outside grilling." So mine wasn't like, "Who has the remote?" Mine was like, "Who's in my fucking house?"
Yeah. Oh my God, I love it.
But anyway,
that's hilarious.
Go out on that a funny note where I thought once again I was losing my fucking mind. Common theme these days.
On this segment of Mike losing his fucking mind.
It's so fucking irritating. At this point, I almost wish I just was losing my mind instead of thinking I am and then finding out I'm not. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause every time I think I am, and then it makes sense, and I'm like, oh.
Maybe that's the hell of it. Maybe you never know. Maybe like all the way up into your 80s, you're like, eventually you just got to start listening to people when they say you're losing it and be like, wow, I guess I am. Huh.
Right.
Okay.
Let somebody else tell me.
I thought it'd be more obvious.
Yeah. All right. Anyway,
all right.
Go out on that.
Hey, have a good week.
Yep.
And that's all I had really.
Yeah,
just
like,
have
bye.
a good week, just
cool.
Just bye.